I tell all my students that editing is where the real writing happens. So I thought it would be useful for you to take a look at the editing process in action. And what you're about to see is how I take a real life piece of writing and transform it from dull and hard to read to something that's much more persuasive, much clearer and more compelling. Now, this is something that a lot of students have asked me to show them, so let's dispense with the theory and get hands-on with the editing process. So what this email was, it was from one of the universities of which I am an alumna. I have changed the name of the organisation to protect their embarrassment. And so it opened with this opening line. This is the first line of their email. In accordance with the procedures in the standing orders of the governors and on behalf of the returning officer, this is A. So that opening line, I read something like that, and it's talking about procedures and standing orders and governors and in accordance with, and I automatically feel like I'm being sued. It sounds incredibly legalistic. It's lost me with that first line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by deleting that awful first bit of that first sentence. So let's just get rid of all this very legalistic in accordance with stuff that I don't feel is necessary. It's just being legalistic for the sake of it. So then we get to what the email is about, and it says it's a call for nominations for the position of alumnus governor of Babson College. Now, this is a very nouny, non-active way of presenting this message. It's not clear to me whether I'm being asked to nominate myself or asked to nominate someone else. So it's left me rather confused. So what I'm going to do is I scroll down and I've discovered that they are looking for, or I've managed to establish from lower down in the text that they are seeking nominations, and you need to find various people, a proposer, a seconder and a nominee, all of whom must be alumni, and that's what the nomination will involve. So it seems to me like they're looking for nominees, and it could be you or it could be someone else. So the way I'm going to rephrase this is, let's say, Clare were looking for a new alumnus governor of Babson College's governing body. New alumnus governor. How about, would you or someone you know fit the bill? Now, someone you know, actually you have to be an alumnus or an alumna of the organisation. So maybe we'll be a bit more specific and say, would you or another alumnus who you know fit the bill? It's not incredibly elegant, but I'm not massively concerned with elegance here. I'm more concerned with getting the message across. So would you or another alumnus you know fit the bill? So that's opening line. I think that gets to the point much more quickly. I now have a reason to read this. If I don't feel I fit the bill, or if I don't know anyone, I can leave it there. But if I am, I've gone from feeling, oh, I'm about to be sued, to, oh, maybe I'd like to put myself forward for this. So scrolling down, we've got this, the next paragraph is this horrific, incredibly internally focused stuff about what the governing body does. Before it's even given me a reason to put myself forward, it's basically telling me about the whole structure of the governing body. It's incredibly procedural and internally focused. So I'm going to ignore that for the moment. Then we've got stuff about what you will need to do if you do put yourself forward. But the message I'm particularly interested in is in this paragraph here, where it says, the college is committed to ensuring visible representation of diverse groups on our governing body. So committed to that we've made it our we've put it in our 4th paragraph. Whenever I see the college is committed to diversity, I always think that's a sign that they're clearly not so committed that they've actually achieved it. It's all very theoretical. So I think I'm going to help them achieve this visible representation of diverse groups by getting that message up further. So let's take it here. And let's put that right up front. If you are particularly keen to hear from these. So the college is committed to ensuring visible representation of diverse groups on our governing body, in particular women and BME staff who are currently underrepresented. Staff, that's confusing because this is all about alumni, not staff. So that's a bit strange to me. So I might get rid of that ambiguity. And I think what I'm going to do is get rid of all this mealy-mouthed stuff about being committed to diversity and actually make that message a little friendly, a little less corporate, legalese, blah, 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 and say something like, we're particularly keen to hear from women and BME. I'm going to make that alumni because it's confusing to mention staff when this is about alumni. And obviously if I were doing this for a client, I'd query that. Who are currently underrepresented. Nominations from these groups are therefore encouraged and positively welcomed as opposed to negatively welcomed. I think we've got that message up with we're particularly keen to hear from. And then we've got this bit about contact Teddy Falcon if you're one of these groups. So I'm going to just leave that for the moment up there. I think that might belong somewhere else, but we'll leave it up there for the moment. So, yeah, so next paragraph, this bit about who the governing body are and what they do, and it's all incredibly dull stuff about 21 governors, 2 ex officio governors, whatever that means, governors representing academic board. This is before I've even put myself forward. I'm being told who my potential colleagues were. I think it's more important to tell me what's going to be expected of me so that I can decide whether I want to make that commitment. So I'm going to start this section. I think the next thing the reader might be interested to know is, well, what does the alumnus governor role involve? So I think this stuff about there being 11 independent governors, 21 governors, I think that could be provided elsewhere. I think that's just too much detail for this first initial request for nomination. So I think I would put that somewhere else. I think later in the email this points you to a page where you can find more information. I think that belongs elsewhere. And yeah, it's an email. No reason we can't have headings to guide our reader through. So we've got this, what does the alumnus governor role involve? So I think what we're going to do here is make this less about the governing body meeting 3 times a year, which sounds slightly abstract to me. What I'm going to do is make it a little more upbeat and direct. If you are elected, you will need to attend 3 meetings a year. 3 governing body meetings a year. So this is already making me think, oh, I can imagine myself in this role. Or if 3 meetings a year is just not something that I can build into my timetable, then maybe I wouldn't. But at least we know. If you're elected, you will attend 3 governing body meetings a year. Normally in November, March and June, July. An additional full day meeting will normally take place in February. The elected member. Again, put me in that role. I don't want to be, you know, this abstract, the elected member. Let's say you will also be required to serve on the college's, you will be required to serve on the college's governing body from the 1st of October until 30th of September. Oh, now we're back to statutes again. The statutes prescribe a term of office of 3 years for governors other than student governors. Governors may, if duly qualified, be re-elected normally for a maximum of 3 terms of office. That seems to be saying the same thing twice. It's incredibly legalistic again, all this talk of statutes prescribing things, very unfriendly language. So let's just say you may be re-elected. You may be re-elected normally for a maximum of 3 terms of office. This vacancy arises on the resignation of alumnus Governor Olive Ball. I suspect that's only really interesting to Olive Ball, so I'm going to get rid of that. Then we are into how to make nominations. So I think this calls for another headline. How to nominate someone. All nominations must be made on the form provided and must be signed by the proposer, seconder and nominee. Okay, that's the first I've heard of proposers, seconders and nominees. So I think we need to prepare for that and tell me that you will need to find a proposer, a seconder and a nominee. So I think maybe we say to nominate someone, you will need to find a proposer, a seconder, and the nominee themselves. Sorry about that very loud motorcyclist going past my flat in central London. It's a little noisy here. I'm sorry about that. To nominate someone, you'll need to find a proposer, a seconder, and the nominee themselves. Maybe not the most elegant way of saying it, but I think it's the clearest. I think this is important. The nominee must not be a member of the current staff or student body. Right, so that business about BME staff was definitely confusing and contradictory. I suspect it began life in a different email. All nominations must be made on the form provided. I don't recall getting a form with this email, but maybe I did. All nominations must be made on the form provided and must be signed by the proposer, seconder, and on. Right. So again, all nominations must be made on. This is very passive, doesn't talk directly to me. It's very things happening in the abstract rather than things that happen to me. So I might say, you should use the attached form to nominate your chosen person. The form must be signed by the proposer, seconder and nominee, all of whom must be Babson alumni. Okay, so I think this bit about them all needing to be Babson alumni should go here. To nominate someone, because I might have got that far and gone, oh, I'll get my husband, who's not an alumni, to propose me, and that wouldn't be allowed. So, to nominate someone, you'll need to find a proposer, a seconder, and the nominee themselves, all of whom must be Babson alumni. The nominee must not be a member of the current staff or student body. You should use. Let's make that please use. To nominate your chosen person, then we talk about the proposer, seconder, and nominee will all have to sign this. Form provided. This form can be downloaded from the link. Again, this is incredibly contradictory and confusing information. Before it was provided, now it can be downloaded. Okay. Please download the form let's say to nominate your chosen person. Please download the form. Download and fill in, not simply downloading it, form available at this link. The proposer, seconder, and nominee will all have to sign this form. The form can be downloaded where you can also find out more about the current governors and the responsibilities of the governors. Yeah, so all that really detailed information that I cut out about how many governors there were and that sort of thing, that's probably on that page, so I'm glad I made that decision to delete the text earlier. Now, let's go back to this bit about BME alumni who are currently underrepresented. I think maybe that goes down here, because it's really to do with the process of nomination. If your nominee is female or BME, I don't know if that's how that should be presented, but if your nominee is one of these people that we're looking to promote, please feel free to get in touch with Teddy Falcon. Yeah, it's not clear to me why you need to have this conversation rather than just nominate it, but they clearly feel that's important. Again, if this was a client, I'd be asking those questions, why we need to chat to Teddy before we do this. It almost seems like you're putting in an extra step for those groups rather than actually being inviting. I don't know. To nominate your chosen person, please download and fill in the form available at this link. The proposer, right. The proposer should return the completed form to this email. We've got lots of different emails here going on. Please download. Okay, so the proposer should then copying in I've just noticed this is just a little thing. We've got slight lack of consistency here in the treatment of dates. 1st of October, but 8th of May. So I'm going to make all of this consistent and get rid of these extra bits. How to nominate someone. Proposer should return a completed form, copying in the nominee and the seconder no later than 5th of June. Please leave. I might make that a separate line. I like my paragraphs short, as you can see. I think what I'm going to do as well is bring out the deadline. No later than, again, that sounds slightly legalistic language, so I'm going to say, please return your form. Actually, that probably goes here. Actually, it's the proposer. The proposer should return the completed form, copying in the nominee and the seconder. Bring up the deadline a bit closer in that sentence. Return the completed form by Tuesday the 5th of June, 5 p.m. to committees, copying in the nominee and seconder. Please label the email with the subject. Okay. So, dear Clare, we're looking for a new alumnus governor of Babson College's governing body. Would you or another alumnus who you know fit the bill? We're particularly keen to hear from women and BME alumni who are currently underrepresented. This is just a first pass to get the structure of the email, which I always think is the most important part of any writing project, is getting the right structure and not overloading your reader with too much detail. Then we've got the section on what the alumnus governor role involves, how to nominate someone, and finally the deadline, all nicely signposted with headings. So that's my first pass at editing this. I'll put links to the before and after in the resources to this lecture, but I hope that little insight into how I tackled a piece of what I thought was rather unpersuasive writing and made it just a little friendlier, a little clearer what's being asked of me, and a little less dull. So let me know what you think. So that was a first pass at editing that piece of text. Now you may have noticed that there were a couple of little spelling errors and a sentence fragment here or there left in. But as I say, that was just a first pass that has given the document, given the email, a much clearer structure and has taken us towards something that is clearer, more coherent, less contradictory, and ultimately more compelling. But I would, of course, go back and do some polishing. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. I hope you found it helpful. Let me know what you thought. And if you've got a piece of writing that you think could use an edit, let me know.